guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness and welcome to my review of Split. This was requested by my good friend Scott Hewitt, who I'm sure I'll be plugging some of his music down in the description below. I would definitely recommend you guys check out his stuff. And Scott, buddy, thank you so much for requesting this review. My first M. Night film, and real quick before we get into Split, I just wanted to quickly talk about M. Night Shyamalan. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm the biggest M. Night fan in the world. I'm really not. I love a lot of his stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's just he's not a director that I don't immediately think of his films when I think about my love of film and the love of the art of film. Needless to say, it makes it sound like I'm ragging on him or something. I'm really not. I love a majority of his work. Especially this film and Unbreakable and Signs and stuff like that. For some reason, everyone likes to talk about his little career slump that he had for a little while there. And to me, obviously, yeah, he did release some pretty shitty stuff, but I think all good artists are entitled to at least one pile of shit or two. And yeah, slump be damned. He came back with The Visit, which I really, really, really liked. I really just loved The Visit. I'm hoping I can review that at some point down the line. I got a lot of pretty cool stuff in the queue, but someday we will visit that as well as Unbreakable and Glass, which are the other two movie. The other two movies in this series. And I realize I just probably gave out a big spoiler, but go cry about it to someone else, not me. But anyways, yeah, M. Night, my friend, thank you for being just an awesome fucking filmmaker and being a great artist. But anyways, we are going to get into Split. This is starring James McAvoy and Anya. I can never say her name right. Anya Taylor-Joy, and it tells the story of three teenage girls who are kidnapped, and they are taken to just some mysterious location. You're not really sure where, and they discover very quickly that their kidnapper has a very severe case of multiple personality disorder, or split personality disorder, or however you want to say it. And I just really gotta. First of all, I have to say up front, this isn't the spoiler-free section, despite my pretty blatant spoiler. But I don't know. It doesn't really give anything away about the film itself, so whatever. But anyways, I have to mention how incredible the performances are in this. Obviously, everyone talks about James McAvoy's performance as Kevin Wendell Crumb. And I'm not taking anything away from him at all. He is the star of this movie, both technically, and he really does steal the show here. His just his ability to portray so many different, just drastically different people, to me is extremely impressive. As someone who has attempted to act before in the past, not very well, mind you, it's already emotionally and mentally tasking to try and take on another personality that isn't your own. But to do that, 5 or 6 times over on the same project, it's insane. It just, I don't understand how he is able to do this. I mean, I know how, it's because he's a fucking magnificent actor, but yeah, everyone talks about his performance, which obviously justifiably so, but no one really talks about Anya Taylor-Joy in this. To me, she plays an extremely broken person, and not in the sense that she's not outwardly broken, but inwardly you can just tell, and it's obviously revealed further on in the film. But you can just tell this young woman, I believe she's in high school at this point. Yeah, because it's art class and all that. So this high schooler, you can just tell, is already so early in life extremely just emotionally almost devoid. Like the strenuous situations, the emotionally strenuous situations she is put in, along with the other two girls, um, you can just tell there's a certain emotional coldness about her, and that is due to a lot of the stuff that she's already had to deal with, in which we will get into with the spoiler section. And yeah, just two amazing performances. I loved them in Glass as well, which is the sequel to Split. And man, I mean, there's really not a whole lot else to talk about. Trying to shorten up the spoiler free sections a little bit because well, first of all, I really like talking about the film in depth and not having to worry about spoiling things as I just kind of did. But also, I'm just trying to tighten up these reviews a little more. But yeah, man, let's just spoil the shit out of this movie. Onto the spoiler section. All right, spoiler time. Your ass has been warned. Now, immediately we are basically dropped right into the shitstorm. We have maybe 5 minutes to prepare, if that. That's probably being generous. But we start out at a birthday party, or no, is it a birthday party? The minute detail of that escapes me right now. But nonetheless, we are at some sort of party, invite only, and Anya Taylor-Joy's character Casey is noticeably an outcast among everybody else. Obviously, I just mentioned the fact that she is very, very shut off and very broken, and but to the rest of the world, she just seems, a little bit, maybe acts like she's too cool to be there, or and some of them just think she's weird. And then we get the other two characters who I will fully admit I'm obviously not known for remembering names too well, especially of more minor characters. But there's the two other women who are obviously much more. How do I even say this? They're I guess I'll just say they're much more normal, which is a bad way of putting it, but they're not as, Mr. Kevin Wendell Crumb would say, they're not as broken as she is, which is actually a pretty big plot point in the ending of this film. But they're obviously way different than her, and again, props to M. Night Shyamalan, because with this, a lot of directors would just immediately jump to, okay, so they're bitches, like they're just mean girls, and they're really not. Like there's even like a hint of sympathy there for her. It's like, but also at the same time they're trying to leave, and it's like they're definitely not the most upstanding people in the world. They even display that a lot. They're not the smartest people either. They display that throughout the film, but they're not really overtly just mean. They're not like mean girls. They're just, they don't understand really, and that can kind of be perceived as them just being bitchy. But props on even giving them side characters at least a little bit of depth and not making them so one note. But anyways, moving on. And yeah, just going back to Casey again. Very, very, very great performance by Anya Taylor-Joy. She portrays this emotional coldness so well. It's not a matter of her just being emotionless, because she's not. She is very terrified throughout this film, but she doesn't let that block her experience with these sort of situations. It is later revealed, since we're talking about the character, it is revealed throughout the film in a series of flashbacks that they're all flashbacks of her hunting with her dad and her uncle. And it is eventually revealed later on in the film that she was a victim of sexual assault from her uncle multiple times. And her dad, actually, early on in her life, does pass away from a heart attack. and her uncle is then her legal guardian. So you can only imagine uh, how much shit this woman has had to go through already in her life. She's a very young woman at the time of this film, and it's just it's tragic. It's so sad, and it just makes you relate to someone who on the surface wouldn't seem so relatable. In the beginning of the film, those girls cannot they're they have sympathy for her in some way, not pure sympathy, but you know what I'm saying. They do feel sorry for her, but they don't understand. They really just don't get it. And it's even, later on in the film, it's blatantly shown that she's had to deal with this fucking piece of shit asshole motherfucker. Just to get all my cursing in for the video. Yeah, it even shows the fact that she was not only sexually abused, but physically, like, just cutting and scratching and just all sorts of fucking horrible shit. And it's very sad. It's also possible that she was doing that to herself as a way to emotionally cope, but who knows. Nonetheless, this woman is very, very messed up, and rightfully so. Which is interesting because now we will get into Kevin. Why can't I remember this guy's name? James McAvoy's character, who again, an amazing performance from him as well. We are introduced to him in the form of him just straight up kidnapping 3 teenage girls. Like, it's just broad daylight. He's not hiding from the fact that he's doing something awful. And this obviously is one of Kevin's personalities, which we are introduced to as Dennis, who is basically an OCD maniac. Multiple times he freaks out about germs and stuff not being clean. There's also a hint of pedophilia with his personality, which is not super overt. It's not something that's like, I'm a creepy pedophile. I can't fucking stand when movies do that. But there is definitely a hint of pedophilia, just how with the sessions with his therapist, and just how he acts towards the women. I mean, he's straight up. It's pretty much implied that he attempts to rape one of them at one point. And then Casey immediately tells that girl, she gets a quick chance to whisper to her, and she just goes, "Pee on yourself. Just pee on yourself." And this woman's like, what are you talking about? She's like, "Just pee on yourself." And it's like, it's so sad, the fact that she even just knows. She's like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna rape you. Pee on yourself." It's like, fuck, dude. But anyways, so that's the first personality we are introduced to. And on the surface, for a while at least, these women just think they've been kidnapped by some maniac. But then he ends up coming back into the room as Patricia, I believe, is the next one, who is an older woman. And we just get him beat after beat. Probably the most entertaining one for me is Hedwig. Hedwig's fucking hilarious. There's definitely a layer of fucking just being absolutely disturbing, since this is a grown man acting like a 9-year-old boy. But just very, very funny, sickeningly funny performance as far as Hedwig is concerned. And also Patricia. Patricia is where I really noticed how just damn good James McAvoy is in this role. Just the little things you would see any old woman do. Just these little, like, she's preparing food for the kidnapped women, and just this little, she gives this little, like, and look, I'm even saying a she, you know. But yeah, just he gives this little like this little mannerisms he does as Patricia. That's very, very disturbing and very accurate, which makes it all the much more enthralling. And going back to just me calling him a she in this context. It's a completely different subject, but anyways, uh, but no, you almost get the sense that these are completely different people. I mean, he is so in this role. You just start to just naturally think, okay, he's just this person, you know. Which obviously the ending reveal would give, credence to that theory that he is just these people. This is just who he is. We also have Barry, who's an artist. He's probably, besides, well, not Kevin, because Kevin's not normal, obviously. Barry's probably the most normal of the ones we see. He's just an artist, very flamboyant. He's the guy, the personality who talks to the therapist a lot, which those scenes are also very good. And yeah, I think I basically covered them all except for, the last one, which we will get into. But yeah, so you have these two characters, and I'm not following my notes too well. It's later revealed that Kevin has also suffered a lot of trauma at the hands of his mother. And so you get these two characters who are extremely just emotionally and mentally shattered. And they're obviously coping with it in different ways, as being Casey and Kevin. And it almost, at the very end, it almost kind of creates this bond between the two of them. And it just an unspoken, well, not totally unspoken, but you get this sense at this scene, which I will talk about here in a second, that they just kind of get it. Like, they get each other. There's just something clicks for Casey's character, and she kind of understands, and something clicks for Kevin as well, where he just realizes, like, okay, you get it. You get why I am this way. And very emotionally touching scene. But yeah, let's talk about it, guys. The Beast. Alright, so it is hinted at multiple times in this film, to the women and to Kevin's therapist via all of his personalities, that there exists another, I believe the 23rd personality of Kevin, known as the Beast. And it is just hinted at multiple times. Even one of the girls is like, well, maybe he's gonna just feed us to his dog or something like that. And it's like, no, not quite. And you as an audience member, I remember when I first went and saw this, I wasn't too sure if the Beast was a real thing. I was just kind of like, okay, well, this guy clearly is not only off of his rocker, but once off of his rocker, he probably destroyed the rocker with a baseball bat. So clearly this guy is not well. And you just kind of think, all right, he's just going to act like some animal and then kill him. Nope. They're not lying. There is a legitimate beast within Kevin Wendell Crumb. And this guy, you just see his veins fucking bulging out. He's like a less severe version of the Hulk. He can't be shot and killed. Any bullet that enters his body is just he just heals from it. You can't kill him. You can't fight him. He's inhumanly strong. So all you can do is run, and that's what they attempt to do. Not to the two women's success. He ends up killing and eating them, kills his therapist, which we will get into. And, hey, it's the spoiler section, right? But we'll get into that. And then he starts to pursue Casey, and you just see him, like, crawling up walls and just doing all these inhuman things. And at this point, Casey's like, what the fuck? I can't kill this guy. I can't. Well, I'm just fucked. So she runs. She locks herself in a cage. There's even another scene before that where she kind of gets the Beast to subside for a little while by saying Kevin Wendell Crumb, his actual name. And all of these personalities just start to either warn her or tell her she's fucked or anything in between. And then the Beast comes back, so she eventually just goes and locks herself in this cage with a shotgun. Shoots him a couple times. He does not die. There's a scene in the hallway where he's kind of like just crawling around in the shadows. Very creepy shit. And she eventually nails him he just heals from it. He's like, this ain't shit to me. Then he starts bending and you get this amazing this facial expression from James McAvoy, where his teeth are all just bared and his eyes. It looks like this guy's gonna pop a fucking blood vessel. I mean, you really get the sense that he is actually bending these steel bars. There's just a visceral feeling with that whole sequence that's incredible. And he's about to come in and eat her for supper, but he then realizes he sees the scars on her stomach and just sees the look in her eyes, and then something clicks within the beast's head, and he's like, "You're broken, just like me. As I previously mentioned, you're just like me. This world has chewed you up and spit you out, and here you are." Which is not the verbatim line, but that's basically what he's getting at. And yeah, he just eventually leaves her alone, and police find her. You get this. I remember watching this for the first time and getting this overwhelming sense of dread when the cop visits her in the back of the police car and says, "Hey, your uncle's here to pick you up," and you're like, "Oh fuck! Like, are you serious?" Starting to get a little, what's the word? Not a frog in my throat because I'm not crying, but anyways, maybe I got corona. Ooh. Demonetized, as if I was getting paid for this anyways. But anyways. But yeah, you get this sense of like, oh shit. But it's kind of nice. You just see the look on her face, and it's not particularly a look you've gotten from this character. But you can just tell, you can just tell that there's a sense of, no, fuck that shit. I'm not. And even the cop kind of looks at her like, what's wrong? And then that's where you leave her character. But a very nice ending for her. Obviously, her story picks up in Glass. But man, that was a really cool ending for that character. Of just, there's no overt, like, fuck you, and just... There's nothing like that. It's just that you just get the sense of she's changed from this, and it's a nice ending for that character. And then we get the big Avengers-esque reveal. It's just, you start seeing all these news headlines about this monster that they're calling the Horde, who's just this unstoppable beast and can't be stopped, and all of these people in this diner are like, what the fuck is going on? And it's kind of cool. I didn't get the full disclosure, I didn't watch Unbreakable before I saw Split, so I didn't get why it was so epic and why, like, I was just like, what the fuck is Bruce Willis doing here? But eventually, once I went online and saw some reviews, and I actually went out of my way to watch Unbreakable, which is an amazing fucking movie, another one I really want to cover on the channel at some point. But you just kind of get this, like, you get this very subtle cameo. Not subtle, it's not a subtle cameo from Bruce Willis, but you get this just this quick little thing of him kind of looking up at the TV, and he's like, oh shit. And yeah, before that, what I meant to say, and I got off on a tangent, was, Kevin Wendell Crumb is in the mirror, just kind of, no, not nursing his wounds, but watching his wounds nurse themselves, and all the personalities are talking to each other, and you start to hear the music from Unbreakable, which, watching it this time around, I was like, oh shit, like, I even knew what the twist was, but I was like, oh fuck, like, still, just the fact that they put that music in there was just like, that was so good. Even if you didn't have the Bruce Willis cameo at the end, I think that would have worked perfectly. But nonetheless, as I mentioned, the stuff in the diner goes down, you see Bruce Willis, and the movie ends, and man, wow. And then we get Glass, which people are kind of mixed on Glass. I personally really like it. People are like, oh, it's anticlimactic. I'm like, M. Night's one of those guys who, I've mentioned this before, I really admire when filmmakers just go out of their way to make the film they want to make. And that's all there is to it. go fuck yourself. Maybe not that mean on their part, but that's basically what it is. He set out to make the movie he wanted to make. But there's my little Glass review and my Split review. But yeah, guys, just a fucking fantastic movie. There's really no way to cut it. I know I didn't talk about the story a whole lot. I don't, I spoil the shit out of it, obviously, but I don't like to just, meticulously, oh, this is the story, point A to point B, to point C to point, so on and so forth. I want you to still experience the film, even if you don't give a shit about spoilers. But yeah, guys, absolutely check out Split. And we are not done, actually. I'm cutting myself short. We still have to talk about the blood, the guts, the gory bits. Let's talk about our kill of the film. Split is by no means an overtly gory or bloody film at all. M. Night's never really been known for that type of stuff, which is all well and good. Believe it or not, I don't need blood and gore in all of my films, even though I do like it a lot. But anyways, that being said, even for PG-13, which I just realized this is the first PG-13 film I've reviewed on Days of Darkness, which is pretty damn cool. But even for that rating, it gets pretty brutal at the end, especially. And just the content in general is definitely could be worthy of an R rating if they bumped it up just a little bit. But nonetheless, obviously that's not a critique. This film's fucking fantastic. But yeah, so my kill of the film, it's obvious. It's honestly it's a pretty obvious choice, but not for the reasons you would think. And it's not going to be the one you might think I would choose. There's obviously shots of one of the young woman's stomachs being kind of ripped open. You only see it for a slight bit, but it's pretty fucking graphic for what you get. And then obviously the other one is inevitably killed, and you see the beast just kind of gnawing on her stomach as well. Pretty gross shit. Even the sound design is pretty disgusting, which leads into my personal kill of the film, which is going to go to the therapist, Kevin's therapist, who is she finally gets to see the beast, this thing that he's been talking about forever, and she's just never really, either she's never believed it or she just didn't want to believe it or whatever. But here he is, and he he wraps his arms around her, and she's an old woman, so she's very frail. But you just get a sense of the beast's just fucking raw strength when he just wraps his arms around her and just squeezes, slow as hell too. It's not like a quick, he just squeezes, and you just hear this drawn out just crunch, and she just fucking dies. Not like a big splatter fest or anything with that kill, but it's still fucking, it's brutal as hell. It's so disturbing. But yeah, guys, so that will do it for Split. Like I said before, phenomenal film. I'm definitely wanting to review more M. Night stuff in the future, but for now we are going to, next time on the channel, we are going to be reviewing Friday the 13th Part 3. We're going to keep that series rolling along, and yeah, guys, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. The hockey mask is finally here. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe and keep watching horror. Alright, guys.